the dream, Gavin's mother never remarried, and she and Gavin returned to England to live. People would look at them in the street, the tall, elegant widow in black, and her son, growing tall and more mature himself, being brave and good by her side. People around them seemed to whisper, "I don't know what she would have done without him," and "Yes, he's been a marvel," and "They're so close now." Gavin shook his head, blushing guiltily. He didn't hate his father, he just got angry with him sometimes. And it made him feel bad and upset that he kept on imagining him dead. But the dream insistently repeated itself, and it continued to expand. The narrative furnished itself with more and more precise details. The funeral scene was added, the cottage Gavin and his mother took near Canterbury, the plans they made for the school holidays. It grew steadily more real and credible. It was like discovering a new world. But as it did, so Gavin found himself more and more frustrated and oppressed by the truth, more dissatisfied with the way things were. Gavin slowly pushed open the door of his parents' bedroom. Sometimes he knocked, but his mother had laughed and told him not to be silly. Still, he was cautious, as he had once been horribly embarrassed to find them both asleep, naked and sprawled on the rumpled double bed. But today he knew his father was at work in his chemistry lab. Only his mother would be having a siesta. But Gavin's mother was sitting in front of her dressing table, brushing her short but thick reddish auburn hair. She was wearing only a black bra and pants that contrasted strongly with the pale, freckly tan of her firm body. A cigarette burned in an ashtray. She brushed methodically and absent-mindedly, her shining hair crackling under the brush. She seemed quite unaware of Gavin standing behind her, looking on. Then he coughed. "Yes, darling, what is it?" she said without looking around. Gavin sensed rather than appreciated that his mother was a beautiful woman. He did not realize that she was prevented from achieving it fully by a sulky turn to her lips, and a hardness in her pale eyes. She stood up and stretched languidly, walking barefooted over to the wardrobe where she selected a cotton dress. "Where are you going?" Gavin asked without thinking. "Rehearsal, dear, for the play," his mother replied. "Oh, well, I'm going out too." He left it at that just to see if she'd say anything this time, but she seemed not to have heard. So he added, "I'm going with Lawrence and David to kill lizards." "Yes, darling," his mother said, intently examining the dress she had chosen. "Do try not to touch the lizards. They're nasty things. There's a good boy." She held the dress up in front of her and looked at her reflection critically in the mirror. She laid the dress on the bed, sat down again and began to apply some lipstick. Gavin looked at her rich red hair and the curve of her spine in her creamy back, broken by the dark strap of her bra, and the 3 moles on the curve of her haunch, where it was tautened by the elastic of her pants. Gavin swallowed. His mother's presence in his life loomed like a huge wall at whose foot his needs cowered like beggars at a city gate. He wished she bothered about him more, did things with him, as she did with Amanda. He felt strange and uneasy about her, proud and uncomfortable. He'd been pleased last Saturday when she took him to the pool in town, but then she'd worn a small bikini, and the Syrian men round the bar had stared at her. David's mother always wore a swimsuit of a prickly material with stiff bones in it. When he went out of the room, she was brushing her hair again, and he didn't bother to say goodbye. Gavin walked down the road. He was wearing a striped T-shirt, white shorts, and Clark's sandals without socks. The early afternoon sun beat down on his head, and the heat vibrated up from the tarmac. On either side of him were the low senior staff bungalows, shadowy beneath their wide eaves, and which seemed to be pressed down into the earth as if the blazing sun bore down with intolerable weight. The coruscating scarlet dazzle of flamboyant trees that lined the road danced spottily in his eyes. The university campus was a large one, but Gavin had come to know it intimately in the 2 years since his parents had moved to Africa. In Canterbury his father had only been a lecturer, but here he was a professor in the chemistry department. Gavin loved to go down to the labs with their curious